Welcome, Karl. I'm excited to have you on our podcast, and congratulations for being among the top uh, 30 speakers and global gurus. It's a pleasure to have you here. And in this episode, the idea is to get all your wisdom, experience, your expertise out there for our audience. So, I have a question for you, and I happen to read that on your wall. So, something like this you have written, like stressful situations often require focus and delivering solutions.
Yes.
So, in your leadership, how do you make sure and how do you elaborate on your ability, so when you and your team you are in there is a challenging situation, so how do you make sure that you are always your solution driven and you are focused and you make sure your team is also focused? So if you can share your mindset and around it, please.
Okay. So let's start in the more difficult end of the question. How do we solve a question or a problem that we don't have the solution to? And that is where most people get stuck, and my team gets stuck from time to time as well. And in those situations, if I don't have the solution and I feel that no one else in the room have a good idea of how to progress, I tend to come up with a bad solution intentionally to show everyone that it's okay now for us to brainstorm, and together we will come up with bits and pieces that we can combine into a good solution. But by showing to my team that right now we are not trying to be the best guy in the room. Right now we are just trying to solve this problem as a team, and as we don't have the solution in our hands, it's better that we just brainstorm. And my ideal brainstorming is often to attack the problem from a totally different angle, to not look at the exact problem, but see, okay, so can we undress the problem, and can we look at it as something else? Like if it's an IT problem, can I somehow try to address this as if I were a farmer and I had a problem with a tractor or something else? Like, is there another way for us to look at this, as we obviously got stuck in the current way of looking at it?
Right. So getting the different kind of perspective to solve the, similar problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and from my experience, to say, let's try to brainstorm and come up with creative ideas, that doesn't work. If you're not a very, very well-oiled machinery, so to say, if the team feel that there is a leader in the team, then the leader must come up with the first stupid idea. Otherwise, the other team members tend to not dare to come up with the more creative or so-called crazy ideas.
It's interesting to hear your perspective on this, and especially when, so there are different ways to deal similar, same challenge or problem. So I think, it's a great.
Yeah, and that is a core difference between managing and leading. If you're managing, then you're trying to get your team to come up with these creative ideas. If you're leading, you start by coming up with the crazy creative ideas yourself.
Great. Yeah, I really like that, and especially, I also believe in that. Like, there are different ways in terms of whether handling it creatively.
Yeah.
How would a child would fix the same problem, like with a child mindset? So that works very well.
Exactly.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Carl. I also happened to read this on your wall. Like you have mentioned that you were able to enhance the customer experience and sales by around 300%. So how do you make sure that your employees, who's working towards this common goal, have this mindset to enable them to achieve a goal like this, like increasing the sales revenue by 300%? Because it's very important to have a team who's aligned with your vision, your drive. So how do you make sure that everyone is on this common path and not being limited by any sort of fears? Or so how do you make sure that?
Yeah, to start with, it comes back to managing versus leading. By showing people examples of what I have done in the past, both good and bad, they will come up with ideas that adds another layer on whatever it is that we're working on. And together we will come up with the creative solutions that we then test. And some of these creative solutions will not be as good as we thought in the beginning. And that's where we need to fine tune and improve and step by step get even closer to the goal that we want to achieve. But to say that we will now address this problem, the e-commerce site that we are looking at this moment are not converting as good as it should. Let's increase that by 300%. That is not how you do it. Of course not. At first, you start to look at what is it that holds this customer journey back? What is it that we see that is not logical from a consumer point of view? Because in very many cases, especially when we talk to e-commerce platforms and e-commerce sites, there is a technical department that develop the customer flow, and they are not directly connected to the customers, the individuals that are buying. They are trying to tailor an experience based on a standard, and that standard, to quite a large extent, is not designed for consumers. It's designed to create a good system with a good throughput of traffic, but not in relation to consumer behavior, psychology, expectations, and things like this.
So how do you make sure that so one part of team, like they have who's technical team, and they understand the technical side of it. Then there is something on making sure the team is aligned with the customer needs. Like this is
Yes.
what. How do you ensure that? Because there are so many solutions out there in the market. Sometimes it doesn't work. This is not exactly what customer needed. Like.
Yeah, I would say that it's quite often the thing that we are implementing from a general point of view is not delivering the expected value, so to speak. Because if we base our tweaking on customer surveys, we will for sure improve the customer experience, but we will not go to the extent where we talk to the subconscious level of the consumer's mind. And that is where we want to be, because they make decisions far quicker than what we think. When I think about which button I want to click on, my subconscious mind have already decided which button I should click on. Right. So if I were to run a survey on which of these buttons do you like the most, the answer will not be the same as if you just do a blind test and have people click around in your website. So to illustrate the problem is that even though we think we know that these tweaks will have a positive impact, we should never just go about the things that we know about. We should always elaborate on things at a quite large extent, so that we pressure test bits and pieces all over the place. So don't create a big tweak and hope for that to be a good achievement or to deliver a good result. Instead, create 10 small tweaks, and with these fine tune and remove some of the tweaks that prove to be not successful. And as you try to make smaller and smaller improvements, it becomes easier and easier to make these improvements, because it's not a big release we're talking about. It's something small that potentially you can do 3 or 5 small improvements every day.
Right. This is interesting. I mean, like especially I think in business and sales, it's very important to look at customer needs from this perspective. And, yeah. And that is where I think a lot of people are struggling. So this is really interesting, powerful.
Yeah. And of course, today with the advancement in artificial intelligence, there's so much more we can do. Because with artificial intelligence, we can simulate consumer behaviors. We can use AI tools to use all the traffic and the data that we have had on our site and simulate or create a fiction of how a consumer behavior could look like, so that we can pressure test our idea on 1,000 or 1,000,000 potential users or simulated users before we actually go out and test it on a live audience.
Interesting. And actually, my next question was based on this about making use of. So, how do you leverage on ChatGPT AI, enhance customer experience, sales strategies, and improving the growth and revenue for the organization? So, this is what I have written down as your next question as well.
Yeah.
So, would you like to add something to that? What you have shared, actually, ChatGPT is it's quite deep. Again, it's connected to. I feel that if human consciousness is, enhanced to that level, we can make use of ChatGPT, even beyond. So, in a way, we have a tool, this ChatGPT, to beyond our even imagination, that it's really in a good way it's helping. There are some cons to that as well. But when it comes to improving, especially in business, like when it comes to improving the customer experience, like if you're giving an advice to someone, like someone has to increase the customer experience for their business and to improve their sales, how would you make use of a ChatGPT in that case? If they have to just start from there,
if you started from scratch, and you don't have a clue, so to say, about where to start. To start with, I would just copy the first page of your website, like mark all the text, and then copy the about section and some other information about your company, and paste that into ChatGPT and say, this is a general overview of what we are doing, and explain that this is a copy paste of all the information on our landing page and our about page. Now I want you to outline 10 or 50 different improvements that you suggest that we could do based on this limited information. So use this as a brainstorming tool, not as a decision-making tool. Have it to just help you think faster in different angles. And then as you have these 50 different ideas, you pick out maybe 3 or 5 of those ideas and say, okay, so I like these ideas. Let's have a conversation about them. Can you explain more in detail which sub-steps you think we should do for this particular idea? Let's call it idea number 5 in the long list. And then together with ChatGPT, you prolong that conversation. You dig deeper into each of the selected bullets, and then you have a good idea about what could be beneficial for you. But maybe as you have done that part, run it through your team or run it through ChatGPT and say, okay, so I have selected these 5 out of your 50 ideas. Why do you think I should select any of the other 45 ideas that you have come up with? Which is it that I don't understand the value of? And is it so that I'm actually missing out on a golden opportunity somewhere?
Right. I mean, it's purely like having a human interaction, getting the. But this is very useful. The one especially you shared about just giving all the information about your business and then asking ChatGPT to refine that information for your sales and for the growth of the company. So this is really useful. I'm sure it's gonna help many people out there.
And if you want to go deeper, then explain to ChatGPT what behavior you expect from it. Because remember that ChatGPT have been trained on a massive amount of data. So for it to be best for your particular case, you don't want it to think about how to grow strawberries. how to change the tire on a car or a wheel. You don't want it to think about how to develop PHP code, and you don't want it to be your HR manager. But as you ask a question without defining what behavior you expect from ChatGPT, it will, in a way, have all these different things that distract it. So be specific in the beginning and say, this is what I want from you. I will give you information about our company, and the goal is for us to improve sales. And your position in this project is that I want you to be my sales hacker. I want you to be my growth hacker. I want you to be my something else. I want you to be my graphic designer, or be specific about the role that ChatGPT are to play together with you. And then when you are done with that conversation, you can move over to the next step and say, okay, let's start a new dialogue. And in this case, you're an external party. Let's say that you are an expert within the field of e-commerce optimization, and you have optimized 1,000 e-commerce sites. Your ability to optimize e-commerce sites comes from all this experience, and I want you to silo that experience and really behave as this really well trained expert in this field. And now I want you to grade these 5 ideas only with this mindset. Because in the previous mindset, we talked about, okay, you're someone internally in the company that have a limited view of and limited understanding, but you have a main goal. And then you have another AI mind that start to score this first AI mind's progress in a way.
Yeah.
So have the AI play against itself, but as different minds, so to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everyone currently have got this genius sitting with them. It's up to the business how they're utilizing that mind.
And it's so many different ways that we can utilize it. I'm training a bunch of different AIs to behave in a way that I want to behave as these different type of individuals. But I'm also using a very large amount of different AI tools, not just ChatGPT. I use Midjourney for image generation. I use a number of different AI tools for video modification, so to say, like video editing, video cutting, video generation. I also use tools for processing audio. Like, for example, I have trained my voice on quite many hours of speech so that I have an AI that sounds exactly like me and use the same errors in how I express myself and so on. So it's a very well trained voice that sounds exactly like me. And then I have many other AI tools that help me in my everyday work.
Oh, that's really amazing. It's like an infant everyone is training, then that would behave according to the trainings you have provided.
Yes, exactly.
Including the values as well.
Yeah,
the way AI has been, been handled differently by different individuals.
Yeah.
So,
And the best thing to think about AI, and AI has been around for quite some time already, depending on how you look at it, about 22 years. But the concept of AI is much older than that. But for us, the general public, so to say, we started to look at AI last year. I have been involved in different AI related projects for 12 years, but it's with ChatGPT that we see this tremendous change where it's accessible for everyone and everybody understands how to use it directly without having to read a manual or anything. We just have a conversation. But with that, we should think of it as you mentioned, as an infant that basically just takes its first breath. It's at that stage that we are starting to explain for the AI, it's amazing that you're part of our world now, but I want you to behave in a way that that is more acceptable. I don't want you to lie to me, or as in AI terms, we talk about hallucination, where the AI have not been taught how to lie or what a lie is. So it can't lie, but it makes things up. And that's why we call it hallucinating. And that is also very, very interesting because especially NLPs and text-based AIs, they have been trained on giving us an answer, to give us the best possible answer, but the answer doesn't have to be true.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. Not like
Yeah.
fact-based. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
And if you circle back and then you ask the AI, can you explain to me how you came up with this idea, this answer to me, then it won't respond back. It will say, sorry, I might have done something wrong. It will send you another response that it thinks that you will like more.
I mean, yeah, it's like it's interesting, it's fascinating, but it also has its own disadvantage. I mean, not really, most people probably think that with AI you can extract data because you don't have to do that work. But then if it's not fact-based, if it's not, the research based, then that's probably not a great thing actually to
No.
for the progress. I mean, okay. So, but interesting conversation actually about this. I truly enjoyed it. So my next question, Karl, is let me, so you mentioned about now switching from AI to human values actually. So you mentioned about being sympathetic and putting the team before oneself are important values.
Yes, of course.
So how do these values translate into your leadership style? And how do they contribute to building a positive and productive team dynamic? So when you say that a leader must make sure that he or she must put the team's need first before hers or before his. So how would you explain that, like in your own leadership style? And how do you make sure that in your own organization?
Of course. To start with, it very much comes down to that it's okay to experiment. Okay. And this is a term that I'm using more and more for every day in a way. When we make decisions, people often think of these decisions as a decision that can't be changed, that can't be modified, and that we need to be right on from the beginning. But if we think of each decision as an experiment instead, it's so much more valuable and rewarding, because then we have the ability to fine-tune whatever decision or experiment we want to start. And this opens up endless possibilities, while a decision sort of closes that door. So start to talk about experimenting more and more with your team. Instead of saying, now we have decided, now we are running in this direction, don't question the direction because the decision is made. It's better that we say, let's experiment. And if we see that we learn something along the way, we can use that to improve our experiment. And you can use this in every situation in your life.
And I think it's truly said, like, and it opens up to sometimes better pathway, better solution, instead of trying to close on just one set of idea. When we allow it to expand, make mistakes, and then we find something beautiful come out of it. Great. So now I have something to learn from your own challenges and failures. So like
there is no failures. There is only learning curves.
Learnings, yes. I totally agree with you. So I would like to borrow your mindset. So coming back to your challenges, you have got experience of what I have learned about you. It's like 27 years of experience with different kind of industries. When you are facing any challenges, when you really think that this is really very challenging. How do you make sure that whatever goal you're working towards, it's still kind of aligned with your vision when you are trying to overcome that challenge? Because obviously you have got team, and you have to ensure that they all are in sync with you. So how did your understanding of business goals and challenges, it contributed to your success? If I'm able to explain my question here. So with
Yep.
every challenges you've faced with your different industries, so how are you always be able to in sync with your vision, this with your vision, like having that sort of vision when you are going through those hurdles, those challenges, and making sure your team is in line with that? And how did you overcome if you can just share with some example, like how did you overcome those
Yes.
challenges?
To start with, one of the methods that I have been using for quite many years is to ask the team one by one, not everyone in the room, but in a one-on-one meeting, what do you feel our vision is? Not what is our vision, but what do you feel that our vision is? And they will explain back to me what they believe the vision is, and it will be different for everyone I talk to. And by asking this question, not what our vision is, but what they feel, what they think that our vision is, you learn so much about the misunderstandings. And that is the only way to get a better aligned team, to identify why it's not aligned. And if we start with a vision, it makes it so much easier. And then after we have talked to the team and the team members one-on-one, we gather in a room, and then I can explain a more refined vision and possibly an even better vision, because I got all the different creative minds to share their view of our vision. Depending on how complicated and how broad goal we have set up as a vision in a way, maybe we define 3-layer visions. So first we have one for the team, then one for the company, and then one that our consumers should feel as a vision as well. So that these 3 layers are aligned in one way or another. And then we start to create goals, but those goals should be quite broad so that we can redefine them as we learn along the road. So maybe, as we talked about just a couple of minutes ago, the goals should be seen more as experimental goals. We're going in this direction. Let's run an experiment and see what we learn along this path.
I mean, this is interesting when you said asking them about what their understanding on vision is, rather than saying, and we get different views on that, and going back to the journey.
Yeah, and it's proven to be extremely successful.
Okay, I'm going to personally take that value actually.
Yeah.
So,
and the funny thing with that is that by doing so, instead of giving them the vision, which they in a way then don't own, it's not their vision, and instead you ask them about how they see the vision and what their vision is about what it is that we try to achieve, they becomes part of the vision. So they start to own the vision as well, instead of just being given the vision. And that is so much more powerful.
Yeah, they feel the part of it, and that they would automatically get that drive and energy to work towards that. Great. So I have one more question, Karl. And that's our final question.
Of course.
There is, again, it's a question on business actually. So you are an experienced business growth expert. So let me just say this actually. So I'll just read it actually. There are a few things I wanted to know here. So as an experienced business growth expert, so you've encountered entrepreneurs who struggle to connect with their customers. So we have had a discussion about it, a little bit about it when we were speaking about carving the customer journey. So you have encountered entrepreneurs who struggle to connect with their customers and feel that their solutions aren't resonating with the market. Now, in your experience, so what are the common mistakes that a business entrepreneur make when they are trying to understand the customer needs? What is the best way as well? So what are the mistakes they are currently making in understanding the needs of the customers? And what is the best way to understand their needs to build a better, stronger connection and ensuring that solution is aligned with the market? And especially, I would like to ask this question for small time business entrepreneurs. So not everybody has the access of a big market in terms
Yep.
of getting their research in place. So, I mean, to design a product, going out and speaking to customers to understand their needs. But not everyone has that access. Not everyone has that long email list in the beginning. And not so how would you approach that from that mindset when someone who's just starting out or someone who's a small time business entrepreneur?
Absolutely. To start with, most companies start in the wrong angle, and they start to investigate their existing customers. You should start to investigate the customers that are not actually customers, the visitors, the window shoppers, and try to understand what is it that make these people leave the site or leave an empty shopping cart or come to the site and browse around but don't even add products to the shopping cart. Those are the most interesting customers. And after that, because you probably have about 90 up to 98% of your customers that are non-converting, depending on what type of store it is that you're running online. And after that, I would focus on the one-time shoppers. Why are customers buying one item one time and they don't come back after that? Where is your engagement focus on getting customers to actually trust your store for future purchases? Can you make that particular item into something that they want to add more products to as time progresses on? So these are the two major areas. Focus on why customers don't buy and focus on why customers don't get back that have bought from you.
And how can we make use of ChatGPT for this, like in order to identify this particular need?
There are probably tons of different ways that we can use ChatGPT for this, but it's the same thing as before.
Yeah.
Just start the conversation and say, I have 98% of non-converting traffic. I run a store that sells knitting yarn, and I do ads on Facebook. I target this segment of people on Facebook. How can I improve? Just as an example. And then ChatGPT will most probably say that your selected segment on Facebook could be better fine-tuned. You could also probably find other ways of attracting customers that are not paid ways, like, for example, start a podcast or a YouTube channel or TikTok videos about the best way to use your product. And be creative. Focus on building a community in one way or another. Like with the idea of creating a community, it's easier to get customers to re-engage with you. In what shape and form that community is, that will grow for you. Like in the beginning, maybe it's just followers in a social media platform. After a while, maybe those followers start to create things that you indicate like, okay, so let's have this challenge. Everybody should do a pillowcase by knitting. Here are the instructions. Follow this simple video. And the best pillowcase wins some sort of reward. Maybe that is the beginning of your community. And then as you progress, you see, okay, so the community want to interact with us, but they also want to interact with each other. How can we support that? And then you will see that as people start to find more and more interest in what it is that you're doing and not just what you're selling, you will find opportunities of other opportunities to sell, basically.
Great. Yeah, this is quite useful information. So I have asked all the question I wanted to ask, but I got one question while listening to you, and that's about like so budding entrepreneurs and small time business owners, how important it is to go into this speaking pathway, like, going as a speaker, and what are the ways they can start on this journey?
It depends very much about what it is that you want to achieve. In my case, I started to speak on stages because I wanted to share my experience and knowledge. I wanted to empower people. And that is still why I'm doing this, because I want to help people do more. And by having this strong core belief, I become awarded for the work that I'm doing, which I'm extremely grateful for. But I haven't changed my mindset. I still want to educate and inspire people from the stage. But after a while, I realized that everybody don't consume information from in the same way. So I started to write books, and after a while, I realized that everybody don't read books and listen to books. So I started to do mentor programs, and after a while, I realized that there are more to it. Some people can't find time in their busy schedule for a mentor session, so I started to do recorded mentor sessions, and in a way, all these puzzle pieces interconnect with each other.
Yeah.
And they still have the same strong belief in the background to share knowledge and inspire people. So first you need to figure out why it is that you're doing what you're doing, and then see if that aligns with what people are interested in.
Right. So yeah, really being, having that one simple mindset of really adding to others' lives, and then all these mediums and vehicles opens up to different mediums to connect with them. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karl. I mean, I have personally learned a lot, and I was very curiously listening to each and every answers of yours. And I'm going to go through this recording one more time. So thank you so much for your time, and it's a pleasure to have you here. When we started, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Mithilesh. My name is
Very nice to meet you. My name is Karl Lillrud.
Yeah, I realized it. Oh, I didn't even introduce.
It happens. No problem.
So Mithilesh, so I'm based in London. Along with
Yeah.
my family, I live here, and so I have started this organization, PivotSimply, and there
Yeah.
I try to really share my journey, my learnings through YouTube channel and through like podcast. This recently started, and it's I'm really I feel humble, and feel gratitude for the people who are joining and becoming the part of this big mission vision, and agreeing to be part of it. So for any newcomer, that's a challenge they face, but yeah, I'm happy and really truly humbled for that. So yeah, it's great connecting with you, and hopefully we get a chance to connect in future.
Definitely.
With regards
And
to as well.
probably we'll see each other in London sometime. I'm there quite often doing keynote presentations. So just follow me on social media and you'll know when I'm there.
Oh, perfect. I would love to meet you whenever you are in London. And yeah, it's a beginning of journey, and I'm looking to meet all of you, in future, listening to you and meeting you in person. So thank you so much, Karl. Great having
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So I'll inform.
And if there's any other things that I can do for you, don't hesitate. Just send me a message and let's see what we can do.
Perfect. Thank you. Because like this is beginning for me. So I am into self-transformation. I'm very passionate about self-transformation, self-development, and I have designed some trainings based on what people wanted. So there are people joining in. I have this kind of story, and there's a journey I have lived. And I really wanted people to work on themselves. So there is a trainings based on self-discovery, based on NLP, based on CBT, REBT. So there are different kind of things I have added, and also business coaching for startups,
Yeah.
like online business trainings, technical training. So these things are there. So in any way, if I get an opportunity to work with you, collaborate with you in any way, I'm open to that. So be part of your vision as well. And if I can offer my expertise, so that will be a great, chance for me as well. So
Definitely. Let's see
so,
what we can make out of the future.
yeah, I hope that we get an opportunity to work together. So great. Thank you so much, Karl, and amazing again. I would like to say that it's great having you here. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Karl.
soon again. Bye.